And we're live.
Welcome to No Direction Beyond, your Starfinder news, reviews, and interviews podcast. I'm Alexander Agunis, No Direction Network's Everyman Gamer, and as always, I'm joined by two of the galaxy's most intrepid Starfinders.
I'm James. I used to write Code Switch.
I'm Dustin. I write Fox's Cunning.
And today we have a special guest, our fan favorite guest on the show. We have a lot of people that are awesome and amazing, but few of them are quite the personality as today's guest. Oh my gosh, is that from the Rot Grind?
No. It's a Nurgle. Lester Smaller Top and Nurgle Demon.
Our very own Nurgle Demon extraordinaire, Thurston Hillman.
Hello, there we go. Yeah, we're actually going to talk about Warhammer 40,000 for the next hour.
Welcome.
I hope you're all ready to learn about the Horus Heresy.
Did you see
the
cards? Did you see the magic cards for them?
So good. I'm actually going to be in like a thing where I like learn magic, having not played since like Ravnica, original Ravnica, with those cards. Yeah, we're off the rails already. They should not have brought me on, everybody.
I think what we need Dustin to bring you on as a special guest for his Booster Bestiary show, and you could just make a set of those as like a Starfinder card, like Starfinder stats, right?
Yeah. We'll just crack Warhammer packs, turn them into Starfinder monsters. It'll be great.
It'll be great. And then the entire
magic.
And then the entire time Thirsty can just, have a nice big tankard of whatever it is they serve in the Empire. It's just tears, right? It's just tears.
Probably.
So
it's only a little bit of orphan tear in there too,
So the real reason we brought Thirsty onto the show, besides his charm and rugged good looks, is the fact that he's had a title upgrade. Is that correct?
No, you were wrong.
Yeah. Get out!
I lied to get in here. No, I have. Yes, I am now. I've been promoted at Paizo to the title of managing creative director for the Starfinder.
Oh, God bless you. You take the big hits, so none of us have to. I'm actually quite excited about this. I've been in the role for several weeks now.
Yeah.
Kind of taking over like a couple seats that we've had vacant for a while. In particular, for people who've been following Starfinder for a while, we haven't really had the role of a creative director since Rob McCreary left. We'd sort of been figuring out how that role would work, and similarly, we recently lost Jason Keeley, our manager, who went on to different pastures, and so we had like a manager position and a creative director position that we're missing. But like Starfinder is a smaller, more agile team, so it was kind of decided like, we don't necessarily need someone like in both of those positions respectively, so that was decided to combine them together. And like I come from a corporate background where I had management experience. In fact, I'm one of a few people at Paizo who's had some like external management experience, and so after like fighting my way through organized play and then digital adventures and then various other special projects, I threw my hat in the ring for this, being someone who's kind of one of the old salts of Starfinder, who was there since the game launched, albeit in like the background of some things with organized play. And like I wrote the environment section of the core rulebook. Whoa. But like I've been involved with Starfinder heavily since like shepherding Starfinder Society for its like first 4 years, and then going into a variety of other miscellaneous projects in the company in fairly short order. So that's my position now.
Well, it certainly sounds like your new position puts the director in creative director.
Yes. That's one thing I am like very I feel that like for a brand to succeed, there has to be a like coherent vision, there have to be plans, and that is something that I'm really like setting in place and making sure that we going forward are going to bring the best brand that we can to the public, but also making sure that our content works. One thing that is kind of anyone who knows my work, I tend to like seeding things early on, having a garden approach of like putting some little tidbits in into a product, and then maybe a couple products down the line we toss some water on that and they grow, and people are like, wow, they had a plan the whole time. That is sort of the approach I take, and it is something that I know a lot of people on the current team are passionate about following up on. So that's kind of like my core philosophy is I want Starfinder to be a brand that not only is like a cool game and a fun game that you can pick up and play with friends, but something that you can, as a player, as a GM, get invested in. One of the things that I am like, again, firm believer of is that we buy these books, but we want to fall into these books. We want to, we want to make sure that when we're creating these, we aren't just creating them as like one and done sort of like, oh, you get a subscription and you go ahead with it. Here's this AP line, and if you don't particularly like this AP, well, tough tatas for you for a while, next 3 to 6 months, like this is your life. I want to make sure that we have more stuff for everyone, and we're starting to even see that now with some of the changes, which obviously were in play before my title change had happened, but we're starting to see that with like changes to how adventure paths are going to work for a bit on the Starfinder side. So
yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that? We heard some news from Eric at Gen Con, but it wasn't really like extrapolated a whole lot, so give us the juicy tidbits.
Okay, I'm gonna like preface this with the like, immediately there's going to be about 20,000 of you who are going to be like, how does this affect my subscriptions? And I can't answer that. I'm not customer service. I don't have all those details yet. But following the Drift Hackers Adventure Path, which is coming out fairly soon. We're in the midst of Drift Crashers right now, and then we're going into Drift Hackers, sort of the 2 Drift Crisis adventure paths that we're doing. Following that, we're switching gears a bit, and we're going to like a hardback format for adventures for a little bit, at least, for what we've announced so far. The first of which is the Scoured Stars compilation, which was a special project that I got brought on board with, and has been up until about a month and a half, 2 months ago, been like my life. In that I've been like, I put like 3 to 4 months of myself while also doing organized play interactives, all at the same time. It was a hazy 6 months of time.
Given what that project is, some might say that's been your last 4 years.
Yes, absolutely, and we'll get to that because that's like a thing that is near and dear to my heart. But that is going to be presented as a hardback volume. I can give you the exact page count in a second because I totally have all the files on my computer, all the secret files. But that's like I want to say off the top of my head, you can tell that like this was my life. I've completely forgotten everything about this project because I'm no longer working on it.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
Yeah, right. This is a 200 and I want to say 56. Am I right? Yeah, 256 page hardback adventure.
Nice.
It's divisible by 8, like a bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like we have to do our pages like that for some reason. So that's going to be the first, and then if for those of you who were super intent and followed us at Gen Con, you may have gotten a little teaser that you should be readying your tech revolutions for some robot-y mech action. Which I don't want to spoil. That is not my place. That is Jenny Jarzabski's like passion, and she is hard at work making that happen right now. I've been in meetings with her for the last several weeks about this project as she's like really tearing into the development of it. Also, other asterisks for people who listen to this show, oftentimes we will be like, here is this cool thing that's happening, and then I'll get like 1 million people messaging me being like, I would love to freelance for this thing. That book is actually all done and we have the text in. I'm sorry. Typically, if we're talking about something that's been announced, it means the text is in because we feel comfortable actually talking about it. But Jenny has been working her butt off on I have to struggle not to say the actual name of it because we haven't announced that yet, but robot mech time, and that has not, we haven't talked about all of the different like permutations of that, but I'm confident in letting everyone know that will be another hardback adventure. And so the adventure path line for a bit is going to be changing to that format. We've seen a lot of success with it. It really makes a lot more sense in some of the modern markets. I mean, from a cold business standpoint, logic times. A a lot of people will buy the first 1 or 2 volumes of an AP, right? And then they might peter off, they might not finish it. They like obviously there's diminishing returns when you hit like 4, 5, 6 of an AP. Kind of those ones that like are they great, are they not? I mean, they're all good, but it's like by that point people have probably given up on the campaign or whatnot. So by releasing a hardback, we like give people all that content at once. It's in like something that honestly looks better on the shelf. We can do cool limited editions of, and realistically it lets us do a lot of different things. One of the things I'm most excited about with this change, and again going with some of my likes and things I want to do, and is really do some experimentation with the brand and what we're doing. I think Starfinder sort of started a bit of a trend of like, let's do things different. Let's do 3 volume APs, and let's try all this other stuff out. Let's like maybe change up how our hardback books like present information. I'm really keen to do that with adventure paths. Like I'm really excited to break the mold of like we get 3 to 6 people who write these whole things. Maybe we could see adventure paths that have a few more authors and a few more voices, and maybe section them off in ways that make more sense. Like we're really experimenting with stuff now, and this lets us do things that maybe people haven't seen before. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. Like that's just one change, but that particular like change to the AP line I think is going to be really big going forward.
I know for me, the one thing that I'm really excited is the idea of like the APs being self-contained books, because it's certainly reminiscent of how a friendly competitive dragon game does their products.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, friendly competitive dragon game has done pretty well with that. But also, I think there are certain things that Paizo brings to the table that aren't changing. For example, with these adventures that we're doing, like, we're not just gonna give you an encounter that is like, and the PCs find some bears in a wood and refer to your like bestiary, I guess, maybe in a parenthetical, and like make an encounter for that. You're still gonna get the like mapped encounters, the like solid descriptions, bespoke stat blocks. All of that is still going to be in these things. And in fact, like one of the things that like really excites me about Scoured Stars is I think that product in the end references and like has like 23 of our flip products in the book.
Oh,
So
wow.
good.
Ooh, nice.
So like as a GM, one of the things I think that Scoured Stars is going to be really nice for is if you're someone who likes our flip products and has our flip map products, like you don't have to create custom maps and do weird go to the print store, or like you can just lay down the maps you have purchased. Oh, are you someone who wants to run this for your players? Well, you can like prep in advance. Oh, hey, we need like we're going to do adventure 1 today. Okay, so it requires these maps. Okay, I'll go and grab those. It's not to say there's not custom maps and other things in it, but for the most part, there's an overwhelming amount of like flip products, which I will be honest, as someone who comes from org play, I've always like found it a bit weird that like some of our other lines almost shy away from our flip map products because
Definitely.
like we want to make sure they are used. And again, we're experimenting with things. And I think you might even start seeing in some of our adventures more of a like go towards like, hey, if we are going to have some of those, like you find 6 bears in a woods, we're not going to actually make like a cheap woods map that shows up in an encounter that looks like every other wood map you've seen from like adventures 1 through, oh gosh, what are we at? Like 300, 200. We're not going to like create just another like bespoke woods. We might just say, hey, this would be a good opportunity for you to go out and maybe pick up like this flip map that exists already, right? So.
Definitely. I'm excited about that. I have long thought that like the flip mats and the tiles just haven't really been properly integrated into the brand. Is how I will say that.
I think org play has taken the most advantage of them, and I'm
Yes.
excited for us to like.
By a
I'm
lot.
excited for us to do like more things.
I remember when I wrote I wrote Mysteries under Moonlight Part 1, and I messaged Linda, who was my developer at the time. I was like, Linda, can I just like do all maps? Because I hate mapping. It's my least favorite part of the adventure design process. And I'm like, can I just can I just do all of them be flip mats? And she's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Like, we encourage it. Here's a list of the flip maps we've used recently, so you can have like a good spread. Try to pick at least one from this list, so like it's good, and it like incentivizes people like getting the most out of their purchases.
You
with
don't
us.
like just like making
No.
random maps from Moleskin? Like, hey,
No,
hey,
can't do it.
Pick an adventure path. I probably have a map of it in here. Oh, do you remember Ire of the Storm? Oh boy, like yeah.
My question. Did you map? There's actually, I never mind mapping until my first time I GM'd organized play. One map I made broke me. You know what map I'm going to say, James?
Yeah, I do.
The map that broke me is the Butterfly Library in Overflow Archives. You know that one? Do you know that one?
Oh yes, oh gosh, I remember when I was doing my facetious Shax's House of Pain adventure, one of the rooms in the dungeon was just like concentric circles.
Oh no!
And it was just for the GM, so the GM had to draw this room. I forget if I even drew it in here, but it was just like yeah, this dungeon room is just like circles within circles within circles. I might even, oh yeah, I do. Look at that. Look, you can see like a thirsty original here. See, look at this. Look at these.
Oh
circles
no! I hate it. I hate it.
I can hear the players. Can I stand here? Can I stand here? Can
Oh.
I stand here?
Also remember that the grid size for that would be 1 square equals 7.3 feet. You know, so
Oh,
you
my
kinda.
Oh my
I
god!
hate it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, like, because I as a GM, I just like was like, oh, I'll just draw some stuff here. This is fine. It's not a big deal. But like, that was my first OP scenario, and I was like, I got to do good. Like, I've been enjoying all these scenarios with my friends, and my venture captain asked me to run it, and he did it because he knew I like Kitsune, and there was one in this book, and he's like, here, do this. And then I sit down, I'm prepping out my maps, I'm being a good little organized play GM and prepping in advance, not like jaded Alex a few years later who just did it on the fly with everybody watching.
Yep.
No, I was like drawing all the maps out and like get to this butterfly room, and I'm like, oh no, that's wrong. Oh no, that's wrong. Oh no, and like literally, I was
if
at
you're
the
wrong
point,
like 4 times, the organized play police show up and take your stars from you.
Oh yeah,
No,
yeah.
well, the problem was I didn't have any stars at the time, so I knew that John Compton would personally walk through my door and would demand that I give back all of my boons, because that's what it's boon finder society. You gotta and that's the biggest punishment you can have.
Yeah. You have one opportunity to draw the Taldan Senate, and if you don't get the entire building right the first time, you have to do Hill Country.
Well, you see, that would make me sad, but like we have James and I have a friend named Robin who I talk about all the time on the show, who put the boon that's like, what have we been here before? Do you remember that? She put it on like half her characters, and she just labeled Hill Country, so wherever Hill Country got slapped down, she got.
See, now I'm like, oh, do I have the map of the Senate in here? Because I think I did that one too. No. This is like my magical moleskin that has like all of the maps I've ever had to do for adventures, because these things are great. Oh boy.
It's so
look
good.
at that Hell's Vengeance. Like memories. Good Lord, I've written too many words.
Oh, but that's how you got to be the man in the glass room, right?
Oh,
The guy behind the curtain? I don't know. I think I butchered that. Pretty sure I did.
Do they keep their creative
guy in the
a
glass house?
room?
I'm like, that's great. Someone's gonna throw a rock. It's gonna be like that scene out of The Bride of Chucky. Anyway, that's an obscure horror film reference.
That's great. So obviously, like, you've had your hands busy in the very short time that you've had this position. It must be very interesting looking at like where you're going to go from here, and like all of, because I mean, I don't know how much our fans know about you, but I know you well enough to know that you are a schemer and a planner. And so what types of are there any types of juicy plans you can tell us that are rolling down the road just beyond that hill?
Wow, spoilers. You're
I love spoilers.
You're pumping me for spoilers. Okay, well, I can talk to you about the outline that I'm doing right now that like I can't actually talk about much, but I can talk a bit about. I'm doing an outline for a future product, and one of the most exciting things about this product is well, okay, I should rewind. one of the things that I think is really important that I think Starfinder could improve upon, and I think is important to a brand, and we saw real good success in Pathfinder First Edition with this, is I think Starfinder needs more big darn events that when there are things that are happening, that there are actual like major ramifications to those things. Like a good example is like adventure paths. I think the adventure paths we've done have been really solid, and they've like really like caught a lot of like tropes, but at the end of some of those adventure paths there's not much of a status quo change. And they're like, some people really enjoy that, and I think that is good for a brand too. Sometimes you don't want the thing that shatters the galaxy, but I also think that sometimes we need some things that really shatter the expectations of of our viewers and our readers. And also, like, I want books that when people are going to purchase them, again, adventure paths being an example here, I want books that when people purchase them, they might not even plan on playing that adventure path, but the GMs and the mega fans will read through it and go, oh, they're doing this. Oh, maybe I want to run this thing now. And so the project I'm working on right now touches on some things from the opening of Starfinder that have been some of like the biggest. It touches on stuff from Distant Worlds that like from Pathfinder 1. Like, I've been talking to James Jacobs being like, hey, I want to do this thing that's pretty big. Is this gonna step on your turn? He's like, oh no, that's pretty cool. And like, so
that's a great James Jacobs impression.
Yeah. Like, no, that's pretty cool. Also, I have an adventure pitch I want to give you for next time you're assigning adventures, and I might write one for you. And I'm like, see?
Oh, no.
But actually, it's been one of the fun things is getting to work a bit more closely with James, who I've like, worked with on projects and stuff in the past. But like, as now we're sort of both creative directors for these two brands, it's really nice that I can just reach out to him and be like, hey, this won't mess anything up, and vice versa. But the project I'm working on right now is like, I wish I could actually give some like deep dive spoilers, but I'll just say that it's like paying off a lot of things that have been set up in the brand for a while. It's something that I think that like a base level Starfinder player will be able to get involved with, specifically something where just like, I think like someone who has this fancy old core rule book pocket edition because it's easy to carry. My shilling, there it is. I think that like someone like that is even going to be a demographic of this, but like the people who know our setting and are super involved are going to like pick this thing up and go, oh, here are some things, like pieces that have been laid on the board that have never been moved in a while, and suddenly they're all moving at once, and we're seeing a lot of resolutions to it.
So what quarter of what year are we talking about? Because I'm gonna have to make sure that I budget time for James and me to do an episode of just screaming.
I can't quite say yet, so let's.
Oh no!
I know.
TBD, got it.
TBD.
We'll just pencil and screaming.
We'll just start listing months, and if we hit one that sounds right, you blink twice.
I'll honestly say this is at the outlining stage, so like even the like month of when this thing would potentially gestate is still out there, but like. Now I'm kind of at a point when I've come in that I've sort of got a handle on things that have been ongoing, and like getting a handle on certain projects. Like I've obviously had to step in and help out with like the wrapping up some of the APs we had before, some of like some Drift Hackers stuff, some of our like free RPG days, like things like that have just like need some pushing across the finish line. I've been doing that, but I've also been doing new hardback stuff and like what did we announce, Joe? We have Ports of Call, right? We talked about Ports of Call.
Yeah.
Ports of Call. I just did a cool copy fit pass on Ports of Call. Y'all are gonna love Ports of Call. There's some really good stuff in Ports of Call.
Can we talk about Galarian World? Is that allowed?
Can we talk? Oh, gosh. Okay. We could talk. Talk about Galarian World
before you let yourself off your leash. Like, I mean, one of the things that I really like is, I know things about things, obviously, and then I just read Jenny's adventure path that just showed up in my mailbox, where you have a delightful brunch with Desna, and I'm like, this is the best. I love it. And then Galarian World has like that hilarious art you showed us at Gen Con where like someone is cosplaying Abigail Throon as if she was Snow White at Disney World. And I just kind of want to know more.
Well, I mean, like, what if there was a world that people were like, this is what Galarian was like, right? And like I don't know, like what, like okay, fine. I'll give you a tidbit. I'll give you one tidbit that stood out to me as I was copy fitting this section. I mean, obviously there's a lot of good things, but here's the thing that stuck out. It's another art spoiler, but sure. So each of these ports of call gets a cool map associated with it, and honestly, one of the coolest maps that we're going to be getting out of this is a map of the galaxy, which is something that I know people have been wanting for a
very long time.
And like, you know, I don't want to say that this might be a poster-sized map of the galaxy in this book, but it might be a poster-sized map of the galaxy in this book. But you know, it's like, you know, I'm not saying it one way or another. But what I am saying is that the map for Galarian World is done up like the map you would see on the wall of an amusement park, where it shows all the different rides, and it's amazing.
That's so good. Oh wow. Okay, I need
amazing.
this book, and I need Galarian World. Like,
and you need this book for so many reasons than like what you think, because this book is offering.
Because it's just like, you know, like I feel like one of the sleeping secrets of Starfinder is that it's got like basically anything that they publish for Pathfinder is soft canon for Starfinder in a certain sense if it's accessed. And so it's like, wow, oh no, like isn't there a picture that Eric showed us of like the iconic Witch Warper with like a Konrasu in the background, but the Konrasu looks like the Animal Kingdom Tree of Life? Right? That was the thing I remember seeing.
There might be some other fun things that like could come out there. Like, all I'm gonna say is like, well, Galarian World is definitely the like, Eric Mona is a smart publisher and was like, well, obviously I'm gonna show this because this is gonna get like everyone talking. See reference Alex.
I'm sorry, Eric Mona, I'm your mouthpiece. It's true.
There are some other really cool things in this book that are, I think, just going to get people interested. Like, I don't think we've really talked about some of the like lore implications of this book, like the advent of drift lanes that are going to be coming out of the drift crisis, which is going to like solve one of the problems many of us on the team have had, which is how do pirates work? With drift engines, pirates don't work. So there's some like interesting stuff like that we're pretty excited about, but also there's like some other cool stuff, like, hey, one of those ports of call is in the Scoured Stars. Like, that's pretty neat. Oh, are you someone who likes like rules and stuff? Well, hey, there's some new species in this book too. There's some like there's some informants. There are some smaller ports of call. Like, there are a lot of things that aren't just the, hey, here are like some big deal like big deal ports of call, which is to say those big deal ports of call are going to be great and like will add a lot of depth to the setting, which I think one thing we definitely I think have fallen into again another little trap on with Starfinder is I find Starfinder right now is a very broad setting. We have so much, but we've yet to go have the chance really to go deep on a lot of things. And ports of call is kind of a start where we're going to start going deeper on things. And that's something that I am, with my view as like creative director, is I think we have a lot out there in terms of planets, in terms of factions, in terms of all of these things, these like conflicts, all these things, but we've never really like deep dived some of them, right? And so like as a player, it's cool that you get something like the Starfinder Society where you get like your one page in the core rule book, but like realistically that's like all the information that's been printed on it. Like, we want to make sure that we're hitting some of those things and starting to deep dive and really giving players more information about the setting itself than just like, here is a one-page article, here's a one-page article. Because what I think a lot of our audience is players. I think, you know, obviously the majority of people who buy books are probably players. So they're going to buy a book, and I want those books to be useful more than just the one column spread in a book where they're like, oh, I'm going to play like galactic magic, I'm going to be a guardian tree person, but like that's a very small little thing in that book. But that might spark an idea, and we're going to start deep diving more of that content. And again, we're going to start seeing that with some of the future books. Ports of Call is a great example, and just like down the line with like our adventure paths and other products too.
Well, speaking of things that you're talking about deep dives, I feel like one of the places where you definitely get that like broad but like shallow currently is definitely Species, and it seems like Interstellar Species is going to be like taking a crack at that. Is that going to be like part of the team's philosophy on like depth of species going forward? Obviously we don't have this book yet, but how is that going to impact your like your direction for Starfinder, so to speak? Because definitely that's a place where it's been like, let's just throw all the species at them. Hurry, quick! We're going to take these 3-legged plant people. We're going to take these 1-legged 3-toed Jubnubbins, and then just keep throwing them.
We went over this in the pre-show.
I think that you should know that if there's a way for me to mess up a pronunciation, I will do it. James has played enough games. Yeah, it's true.
Okay. So Interstellar Species, we can talk about this. So this was a book I wasn't super involved with because this was when I was like heads down in Scoured Starsland, but like I got involved with it from like, you know, team meetings and whatnot. And I've actually had to become involved in it a fair amount after the fact, because I've been working on like projects that maybe tie into some stuff in this book. So that being said, I think it is a book that is, first of all, going to be great for players, and again, something I think is very important. I want books to be approachable for players and for them to pick them up. One of the things that stand out in this book is the opening of the second chapter has 5 pages of just species summaries for a variety of species in our game. So they're like, and they list all of the sources for them too. So including like some of the ones that show up in like adventure paths and brief little summaries. So there's basically like 3 columns with like a portrait art piece and then a quick description of the species where you can find out more about them. So this gives you, again, like we're talking 5 pages of that alone, just to give you like an idea of how many darn species we have in the game, right? And I think that is just a great visual representation. It's something that as a GM you're going to be able to reference. It's something as player you're going to reference. If you see that there's like flashing lights on my face, it's because I'm opening the PDF on the monitor. Because then we get into those species overviews, and like each of them get like a good solid 4 pages to them, which also for like the kind of species we're highlighting in this book. And when we do that, we also provide like species traits as well. So a good example, I think we've talked about a few of them, or at least I know I rattled them off at Gen Con, whether I was supposed to or not. I'm the creative director now. I control the bus. But like the first one in the list, like as I pull it up, is Astrozoans. And that's something people may recognize from Pact Worlds. There are shape-shifting starfish-like people. We reprint the playable stats in here as well. So, like, if you buy this book, maybe you don't have Pact Worlds, but now you can play an Astrozone. Obviously, like, hey, we want you to buy Pact Worlds. But like, then there's some that are a bit more specific. Like, oh, you want to play like a Cephaloom, right? Like, hey, that's something that showed up in an Alien Archive. But hey, wouldn't it be cool if you just got this book and could play it? Now, on top of that, there are a ton of, you know, new abilities. Like every one of these species gets, you know, essentially 3 pages of new narrative lore background. Like what's their naming convention? Tell me about their society, their homeworld, that sort of stuff. But then also like, oh, maybe some of them get spells, maybe some of them have items, like similar to how we've done a bit of a grab bag of stuff. Also, like, hey, we know people like kobolds. Some of those things that maybe showed up in like a card deck randomly before, we have actual in a book now for you to play. Hooray! So Interstellar Species is a book I'm certainly very excited for, and I think it does bring out more of the depth of the setting, which I think is very important. The other thing that I'm like, if you're someone who is in the play environment or someone who is a freelancer, there's like a solid, like, gosh, I forget if it's like 20 or 30 pages, 20 something pages of NPC stats, which we have sorely been lacking in the game. Things that we can pull, things that you as a GM can just like quickly zip into. Very similar to like if you've seen like Game Mastery Guide for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and just like, you know, NPC style codex books. Like, oh, I need a CR like 5 stewards constable. Okay, there we go. Or I need like a weird EMT. Exactly. CR3 EMT. Hooray. We do that in this book. So
thank goodness, because I've been trying to like throw NPCs at my Teenage Wasteland home game, and I have to make them all by scratch, and it's just cry. I cry so much. Like, I could do it. I'm very skilled, but I don't want to be skilled. I just want to be lazy.
Absolutely fair. So yeah, like that really sums up what a lot of this book is about. And I think there's like obviously we're gonna go in more depth as it comes out, but it's a really exciting book, and it starts to deep dive some of these things.
Should I be asking for Piscini or Compton for that one?
Ask
which one is lead?
Ask me closer to the event, and I will give you a better answer.
That's fair.
Because
that's legit.
Right, I believe that one's more of a Joe book, so probably
that's
Piscini
cool.
is the one.
It's been a while since we've had Piscini. Let's bring him on.
Yeah.
Speaking about things we haven't done in a while, I forgot to mention that this is a live show and we have an audience, and our audience is really excited that Thurston is hilarious. We do have one question from the audience. I don't even know if you're going to be able to answer it, and obviously don't answer things you can't. Kishmo says, "Please, sir, can we have Stellafera confirmed and Starfarer species reforged?"
Wow. Starfarer's species.
Oh my God, that's my book.
We finally made him
kick Alex from the server. So
we finally made him shill his own product. Yes.
Wow.
Dustin has been trying to get me to shill that book on No Direction for like 4 months now. I meant Interstellar Species. I'm sorry.
It's a really good book.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. See, I'll shill it for you because I think our third-party market is very important, and you should use whatever you can to make your games better. Heck yeah. Okay, so you want Stella but I know which ones they are.
Okay.
The cuttlefish. My lovely cuttlefish. They have a mention in the book. There. I answered the question. Bam.
You did. And honestly, that is the only question we've had so far. You're just so enrapturing that everyone is hanging off your every word.
Gosh. It's like the benefits of not being one of like the PF2 people, when it can be like, when are we gonna get the kineticist? Where's the kineticist? Is it the kineticist yet? Starfinder up in here.
It would be really funny if there's no way this would happen because Starfinder playtests their classes, but it'd be really funny if like your Q2 book next year was kineticist, and you're just like, yeah, we're just gonna steal your thunder. Here's kineticist.
Here's a kineticist. Yeah, get wrecked. Surprise. We did it first. Yeah, no. Though Interstellar Species. Okay, fine. I skipped over it. Like, it has the evolutionist, which is a new class,
right?
Which is not a kineticist, and in fact, pretty cool.
Yeah, it seems like a cool class. We liked it in the playtest.
Yeah. It's I'm not sure on all the changes. I don't want to spill all the like Interstellar Species joy, but yeah, expect evolutionists. So.
We did an episode a while ago where John Compton came and spilled everything, because I think at that time you guys didn't have a creative director. Therefore, without direction, John Compton was like, "I'm free. I'll tell you everything.
I'll do whatever I want." Yeah,
you should say with no direction.
No direction.
Yeah, he's like, I have no direction, so no direction. Here you go. You can go back a few episodes and watch that great interview with John Compton where he goes over the evolutionist playtest. But we're not here to talk about John Compton. We're here to talk about Thurston Hillman and all the great secrets that he undoubtedly has in his brain right now. So, question: if you were going to look at Interstellar Species, what one species would you consider to be, and that's not just from that book, like all of them. What one species would you consider to be essential to a good Starfinder adventure, and which one is not essential but really nice to have?
Essential species. Okay.
Yeah.
That's you're throwing me the hardball questions here as I'm stalling for time to once again bring up the table of contents so I can remind myself everything in this book, because there's like, what is it, 25 species that get deep dives in this book, so it's like
I've seen the book.
It's a good number of species.
James is nodding like he's read it.
No, I read the product page. It said 25, and I went, "That's numbers bigger than 24."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Okay. So what you obviously need in every party is SROs, because they're horribly broken.
You heard it here, folks. If you want to optimize, be a C3PO.
Oh, absolutely. Like, oh wow, I ignore half of the rules in this game. You can tell I'm traumatized from organized play. I was the one who made them accessible in organized play, so it's actually my fault. But I made them have to go through emotional trauma to get them. So, joke's on me.
What a chaos god way to do it.
That's right. Now, as far as what you like would be nice to have in your party, Astrozoans for reasons.
That's fair.
Astrozoans.
You know, I've never been in a game with an Astrozoan that wasn't entertaining. Literally, James played an entire adventure path. It was a Signal of Screams where I thought he was an Ijtikri and he was actually an Astrozoan, and we never learned during the adventure. I
ran an adventure path with Jenny Jarzabski before she worked at Paizo with me, in which she played a pacifist operative Astrozoan, and my goal was by the end of the game to get her to murder someone in cold blood, and I succeeded.
Nice.
Why does amazing God analogy keep getting stronger? What are you doing?
Well, you know,
so good. Dr. Momo in chat asks, can you tell us more about what types of changes you had to make to the Scour Stars story and what could be coming after it? I don't know if you're gonna.
Yeah. So the cool thing is like at Gen Con, I was still in the throes of madly finishing all the last stuff on Scoured Stars. So when I was talking about it, it was like, here's all this cool stuff that I'm like, I hope it's going to be in the book, because oh gosh, there's still a little bit to do. But it's actually, it's all done now. And so like it's off to edit. And in fact, yesterday I answered the batch of edit questions I had about it. So now I can like put it out of my mind until the far away from copy fit. So this is all astracized by like, if I have to cut it and copy fit, it's gone. All right. So let's talk Skyward Stars. It's my baby. I love it. It's my baby. All right. So this book is very different from adventure paths we've done before. And as far as like changes and stuff, you know what, we got some time. Let's deep dive this book. It's my baby, but I don't mind sharing it. Again, I'm in charge of the bus now. All right. So for those of you who don't know, the Scoured Stars started off as the first season of Starfinder Society Organized Play. It ran a whole bunch of scenarios, though not all of them were like specifically tied into the meta plot, just like Organized Play does with its scenarios. It has, you know, some like standalone, some side plots and that. But this was like a roughly 40 scenario season. I think it's 41 if you count both interactives. It lasted over the course of 2 years, to give you an idea. So what we did was we took the 12 sort of quintessential adventures of this and we packaged them together. That includes 2 interactive specials. We packaged them together and did some adjustments to make them work in a standard home style game. So this includes some of those changes I'm talking about. Some of you may cheer at this, some of you may clutch your pearls, so get ready. We're going on an emotional roller coaster together. It's milestone levels, so there's no experience tracking. This is also going to be an adventure path that is probably going to play a lot faster than your standard adventure paths. You can assume that you will do 1 night of gaming, because roughly that was how long these scenarios lasted, and then you level up immediately. There are guidelines in the book that describe like this is how you handle like treasure allocation, providing your GM with the sort of like permission from us. Not that your GM ever needs permission from us. Do what's right for your table, but permission from us to be like, yeah, after every adventure, the Starfinder Society just buys you new equipment. Get your armor and thing for your appropriate level. Oh, do you have a starship suite? That's gonna level up at certain times. It's really meant to be sort of like a freeform thing that you have with your group, and it's meant to be as burdensome on the players or the GM as the group wants it to be. So the players can handle all their upgrades between sessions, and the GM can give them guidelines. Conversely, the GM can just basically like allocate treasure as they see fit, and can like upgrade the starship and like just do that themselves if the players don't want to do that. But there are a lot of groups out there who love that sort of like, let's build a like brittle, slow husk around one big gun. Oh no. So
we did the opposite. I'm sorry,
yeah,
James.
Yeah. Or you know, let's have like many small guns and
or one gun and never die.
Yeah, right. So that's like the core of this, right? And of those 12 adventures, 2 of them are former interactive specials, which are essentially double length scenarios. So when I say you can finish most of these in a night, the interactives are probably like 2 or 3 nights of gaming. But they're also like leveling you up halfway through. They're also like, for those of you who've done our interactives before, generally you'll know like, oh, there's the big screen and all the little side missions you can do. In this one, you just do all the side missions. So for all of those people who complained to me like, it's so unfair that I could never do all the side missions in these interactive specials and there's never enough time Thursday. Buy the book, it's in there. Okay, I swear. Look, like I was saying during the pre-show, I don't stare off into the distance and Fortunate Son plays as I think about org play. It's like where I started. That being said, so those are like the that's the core of the book, I should say. This includes a bunch of changes. Like I can tell you there's some scenarios where we made some pretty substantive changes to like encounters or things that won't work, or in some cases like, hey, it would probably make sense for us to add an encounter here or add a starship fight here or make the Jinsols a bit more prominent, like stuff like that sort of went in throughout. Or something I like to do was go on the forums and see what people had complained about in the scenario and then not fix that and laugh at them. No, I fixed it. Don't worry. Or at least I did my best. I did my best. Now, that is sort of the core of the book and like the majority of the book. But there are some other cool little tidbits in the book. First of all, you're gonna like get that like, you know, typical like, okay, it starts off with a forward from myself because I think that like we have to get back into personalizing some of these books a bit. For those of you who are around in like old Pathfindery days, we used to have like messages from our editors in our books, and like there's kind of a shout out to organized play and a whole bunch of stuff as a forward and introduction in this. There's a campaign synopsis that kind of just summarizes all the adventures and how this campaign plays out. There's running the game that goes into all that stuff I was talking about earlier, like how milestone leveling works, how equipment works, why you probably shouldn't play an Isilgoon in this adventure because it's going to get real weird if you do. All of those sorts of things. Then it has a section that I've put in, which is the Starfinder Society in 317 AG. Canonically, this adventure path, unlike our other adventure paths, doesn't take place in the year it's released. It canonically takes place at the time when Starfinder Society launched, which was the launch of Starfinder. So it breaks down a lot of stuff that maybe was originally printed in like a guide, say a guide to organized play that people would have had access to. We kind of reprint some of that and update it for this book. And then we go into the adventures, and like I'm getting sketches for the adventure, by the way. Oh, mwah, beautiful. Some of the art in this book too. Like I got to order so many pieces of new art, which here's another interesting little tidbit about this book. There's no iconic in this book. All of the half-page art and stuff that's going to be showing up in this book is going to be faction leaders or members of the society. So you're going to get like a lot of really neat organized play art. Like there is one infamous adventure around the middle of the season that takes place with has a trash compactor trap, and I got to throw a couple of our faction leaders in that.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, so like there's just some like really cool art. There's a lot of ginsels in this book. like a lot of ginsels. Like, you know that meme of like the Romani like seer lady who's like, I see in your future, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of ginsels.
Is that the one from Courage the Cowardly Dog where it's the little old lady?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, got it. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Like that was my art. That was my art ordering for this book. But real quick, like after all those adventures and like all of this cool art, there's also some back matter that goes in here. We have some like articles in the back that talk about the ginsels. It goes into what happens to the ginsels after the Scoured Stars, which, you know, might be important and be some of that garden stuff I was talking about earlier, where I like to throw some seeds around and see what happens. I saw a question in chat about the Cry Home Freehold and what's happening with them. We actually give you an article that details the Cry Home Freehold, their history, as well as like a new playable species in the, oh gosh, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. It's Signathrix, which also get a bit of an update. One of the things we realized with the Signathrix in the original Scoured Stars was that they were these like people who had coral-like growths, which were also oddly similar to the coral-like Capaxi that we had. And so we changed them up a bit. And you'll see there are sidebars throughout that also go into some of these details as well and talk about this kind of more developer behind-the-scenes sidebars. Like, hey, there sure are Hell Knights in this adventure doing bad stuff that never show up again. That's because they show up here. And we sort of like touch on a bunch of that with this. There is some equipment as well. Now, before people are like, oh my gosh, they're going to have to sanction this book on day one because I need whatever. There are like 3 pieces of new equipment in this book, but they're bespoke things to the game. And also, one of the cool things about doing a Scoured Stars like campaign book and not through organized play, it's one of the things in the Scoured Stars is there are these relics called tears. By the way, it's tear as into cry, not tears as into rip. That's something I also got to clarify in this book. Very proud of myself that I don't have to hear that question from overseers at conventions across the world forever. But there are these relics called tears that are like powerful artifacts that are essentially used throughout the AP as keys. Well, I thought it would be cool if maybe we stack those up and give them some special powers and let the PCs use them too. Ooh. So there's some like really cool like uses of things that you can't quite get in organized plays easily that we throw in here. And that's there. I got it. That's the Scoured Stars book. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. So Roskman asks for you, a lot of Pathfinder and Starfinder seasons have cool overarching stories. Now I, the person asking you this question, realize that you are in charge of Starfinder, not Pathfinder. But Roskman wants to know if this book, if you have other plans for making other ongoing stories into adventure paths, or is this just a test run to see if it's worth doing?
So Scoured Stars was a unique opportunity for us because we could... like we had the content, I should say. Like it lasted 2 seasons technically,
yeah.
So it gave us a lot of content. And again, this is like a 256-page book. Like this thing is bigger than our hardbacks than we released for Starfinder, like yes. Currently. So it's a big chunky adventure boy. But whether or not we can do that with other stories like Year of 1,000 Bytes, or maybe some highlights from Exploration's Edge, or like the Data Scourge, there's a lot of potential for that for Starfinder. I know I've been involved in, we've had some talks internally about like, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this kind of org play related product? It's always sort of there and something we want to look at. I think we just this is a test run for it, so obviously like if this sells well, then hooray, it helps us look in focus on that a bit more. But really, this was something we just it felt right. I pitched this in a meeting. Like a year ago, and it was absolutely one of those cases of like everyone looked and was like, oh yeah, we should absolutely do that. They probably also said that because I am like the only developer who worked on this book, so they're like, Thirsty's just gonna go in the corner and make this happen, and there I was. So then I started blasting, and then yeah, but then we got a book out of it, and it's like a book that works well for us internally, because obviously we weren't like having to like pay all new freelancers. Like we had a lot of art in there, but also it's a book that we can do cool new art for. We can like really bulk it out and make it something truly unique and special now. So it is a test run, but you know, I'm hoping people buy it and enjoy it. And again, I also hope that people pick this thing up and sort of see that, yeah, this is cool. Like this is something that like is different than our standard APs, and maybe people like milestone leveling. Maybe people are like, no, I only want large scale epic. Like we're testing things out, right? So
God, I only use milestone leveling. I cannot be bothered to calculate numbers. Math is hard.
I think it works for specific types of campaigns, and this is where we're going to be agile, like as a team, right? Like if it makes sense for us to use experience, then sure. Like there are cases like you know, something like a dungeon crawl, like Abomination Vaults. I think like experience tracking and something like that can be fine. But like if we're doing like a high-end cinematic thing where your adventures are only 4 hours and like maybe you only have 2 or 3 combats, well, we're not quite going to be able to hit the experience threshold. So milestone makes more sense.
Definitely. Yeah. I know for me, the thing that I'm hoping for out of this, assuming this is popular, I'd love to see like an adventure that was like called like a very like pulpy, like, you know, like text box, like exploding out from the cover called Tales from the End. And then like, it's all about like just different random simulations you find in Salvation's End. That'd be great. I'd love it. So good.
my other baby. Salvation.
Oh, but it's so good. I mean, you know that like I wrote a big article years ago about where I thought Salvation's End and everything that was in it was going to go, and I was partially right in a surprising number of places. So like I'm very invested in Salvation's End and the Data Plague storyline too, and I'd love to see that as like a big event style book like the Scoured Stars. Like I don't know if there's enough scenarios for it, but it'd be great. Do it. Yeah,
I like, and I think this is sort of the stuff I'm really excited for us to do, is things that people have clumped onto and people are passionate about. I would be remiss if I said like, we mentioned a mech thing. There sure is a real good probable location where mech things might happen in our setting that people are pretty excited about. I would be remiss in saying we sure have some conflicts that have been brewing up for a while, and I'm getting to the point in my old curmudgeon-y age where I'm like, let's light some matches and see what happens with some of these, because like we've been talking the talk on some of these for a while. Let's pull the trigger and get going, right?
All the Chekhov's guns fired at once. Every single one.
Are you saying Absol Station's going to turn into a giant mech to fight Octurne?
Oh, absolutely. Maybe.
I love it. That's so good. Reminds me of... It really sucks if you're in the lower decks and get expelled into space, though. Well,
sad.
Yeah. Well, thinking about things that are sad, it's like 9:57 our time, which means it's about time to wrap up. So, Thurston, let's do a little bit of shout outs. Where can people find you if they want to know more about the life and times of Starfinder's newest creative director? And of course, long may he reign.
Wow, thank you. You can find me on all the things at OnCallGM. You can also find me over. I GM for a little show called Rock Grind with the Narrative Declaration Network. So I GM that. That's a Pathfinder 2nd Edition game. You can also just find me on the tweeters, where I sometimes tweet things and talk about game stuff and all that sort of stuff. Trying to be a bit more active on the Paizo boards when I can, but there's a lot of social media and a lot to do. But yeah, if you ever need anything, feel free to give me a shout out or at me on the socials. And yeah, that's what I do now. I direct creatively.
James and Dustin, do you have anything you want to shout out to tonight?
No.
No.
There's a couple more Starfinder Infinite products that came out. I haven't read through it yet, but Palib Sockhill looks really cool. I skimmed through it, and it's an entire book of pop culture art things that can potentially kill PCs, like a vid game that if you don't complete it, you die. Things like that, all made by a Sockhill that's trying to, make people afraid with all this scary pop culture artwork that might be going out to kill them. And I thought that looked pretty cool. And there's also 3 Starfinder books in this month's top performers for Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite, which is pretty cool because I don't think we've had them on the top 10 list before. So yeah, and that would be
exciting.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a great time to love Starfinder. I know for me, my shout out is I want to give a shout out to NoNet1. NoNet1 did a big breakdown of the Solarian class today, I think, is when it came out. I should know this because I sponsored it through Everybody Games, so that's pretty cool. But he did a big breakdown of the Solarian class. It's really fun to listen to him talk about it, coming from a guy who mostly knows Pathfinder 2nd Edition and kind of like comparing and contrasting like what makes the things different. Like there's this great post where he's like researching the class on Twitter, and he's like, wait a minute, Solarians get a +4 bonus to disarm people from 30 feet away at level 6, and my fighter in Pathfinder 2e has to take a -5 penalty and only does it if they crit. What is this game? And then the answer is this game is Starfinder. Starfinder's rad. Love it.
It is rad.
Yeah. So make sure that you support Starfinder. Pick up all of the great new books that are coming out. Starfinder Interstellar Species Reforged is the next one coming out. I believe that comes out.
Interstellar Species
Again.
Period.
Did I get it wrong? Oh no, I'm sorry.
There's no Reforged at the end of that, Alex.
Oh no.
All right, everyone. Okay. Little break here. Alex, please get it out of your system. Please tell us about your product.
I wrote a book. It's called Starfinder Species Reforged. It has rules for taking out. Yeah, Dustin is showing a picture of it on screen. It has rules for taking out all of the kind of like the predeterministic parts of the species rules, and it lets you kind of build your own characters out of it. Fans of 2nd Edition will think that it looks a lot like the Ancestry rules, and it's really fun and awesome. And also, man, I don't know. I think I'm just ready for a vacation.
Where can they find your product to get it?
Oh my God, who are you? The master of ceremonies of the show now?
Yeah. Look, if you're gonna shill your product, you're gonna go all the way. Please
You can
tell them
you
where
can get
you
it
can
at
get it.
you can get it at drivethrurpg.com. I will probably have Ryan put a post in the actual podcast, and it looks like my delightful co-hosts have already put one in the Twitch stream. Yeah, it's Dustin. He raised his hand. It's his fault. Yeah, wow. Okay. I'm done. James, you take over this. I can't be
guys,
trusted.
I'm wrapping this show up. Thanks for listening to Dustin Hillman's No Direction.
Oh no. And don't forget to go beyond with No Direction.
No direction.